wanna know your name. What's your name, man?
Alexander Hamilton. My name is Alexander Hamilton.
For me, the story is about someone who came here from somewhere else. He's the immigrant among the founders, had a very short but very eventful life. But I think the larger theme of the show is really legacy. What do we do with our time on this planet? What do we do with our time here on Earth? And how are we remembered?
My hope is that the movie experience takes all the things we love about cinema and everything that we love about being in the theater and finds a synthesis there. So what we tried to do was make a film that was always acknowledging the power of theater, that we were in a theater. So you hear the audience, you feel the audience, you see the theatrical lighting, and we don't shy away from that. I think it's really important to own where you are, and we wanted to memorialize this cast. We wanted to take this group of performers that we knew eventually would not all be together and capture this thing.
All right, that's what I'm talking about!
I was so proud, and I remember thinking to myself, my gosh, how beautifully shot and how amazing to see this. You know, I had the good fortune of conducting the show, so in a way I got to see the show up close all the time. And here was a beautifully edited version of the film where we get a chance to get some really unique vantage points for the show. And sometimes we're really up close with the actors, sometimes we're really far back, but it's really thrilling to see a theatrical medium all of a sudden transported into a cinematic medium. Not a lot of shows get that opportunity, so I remember being thrilled.
One of my favorite memories is right before Schuyler Sisters, me, Pippa, and Renee dancing, lifting each other up, rapping, looking, you know, making sure that we're all good to go. And just, we also did, we gave each other a big hug for a while and just hyped each other up right before we went out, you know. And we had a lot of pressure because it was a lot of men on stage and this was like introducing the women. So, you know, we had to come in strong and, you know, we lifted each other up every time we went out. And
I did see the film and I was so emotionally taken aback. I just was so proud of all the work that we had done. And the thing about this film is that at every single angle, every single shot, every single moment, you have the best seat in the house.
It feels a lot like it did before we opened off Broadway. I'm so much more interested at this point in the other half of the conversation. I want to hear from them. I want to hear what people think about it. I want to hear what it means to them today. Does it have a different resonance? You know, I feel like I said everything that I had to say.
When I was a kid, there wasn't a ton of mentorship. In terms of, I dreamed of being on Broadway. It was very far away. I grew up in Ohio. And so I had to reach for what those images might be and what that might feel like to be a Broadway performer. Our screening, I think, does a really great job at taking a theatrical idea and just putting it into people's laps. And so people all over the world and all over our country, young people will look at it and they will maybe get a better view of theater than they've ever had.
You know, there's no live Hamilton performing at the moment. So like, it's a good way to keep people engaged in the show. And I think it's giving a whole new kind of access to a whole bunch of people who couldn't have access before by virtue of the fact that there's only so many seats in the theater, and also because they are prohibitively expensive for the bulk of people in the world. So this is a cool thing to do. I think the thread of youth-led revolution is one that's particularly important these days, as we see our young people sort of in the streets advocating for accountability and for change from our systems of power. And I hope this can be used as a piece of inspiration for them.
Of course, it's going to be fun to do. These are the most insane people that I've ever been around, talent-wise, smart and insightful and just a force. And so whether the world loved it or not, it was going to be the best thing that I was ever a part of.
Those were my favorite moments, when I stopped taking myself so seriously and just was silly and laughed and you know, and received the gift, which was this family.
I think it's the right time to release Hamilton because after George Floyd was murdered, a lot of people felt the need to have a conversation finally about systematic racism in this country. And I think in order for that to happen, it requires people to be relentless with their voice, to constantly speak out every chance they get, and to demand to see an America that they believe is just and true. And I think that's exactly what Alexander Hamilton was doing. That's exactly what he wanted to do. That's why he decided to speak out and become a lawyer, and why he wrote the Federalist Papers. He was determined to say, look, if this country is going to be created, it should be created a certain way that I believe is equal and fair. And people now are just saying, well, the country was created, but we think it should change in a way that's equal and fair. And I think if you take the time, you'll see the parallels between the movement that's happening and the movement that happened then.
No one else was in the room where it happened, the room where
it was like a little secret that we had. Like, yes, we're sharing this thing with you and it's for all the world to see, but we did get a little part of it that was like just our own, and it was really special.
That moment in September when we let the world in on the entire story of the show, because the entire story is in that cast album. And I'm looking forward to the echo of that when we give the world this movie that is a document of that time.
Stunning, breathtaking, magical. If those words actually really still mean something, that's what this is. It is to me a miracle because it is everything that is so beautiful and so possible about a theatrical expression, and everything that is so beautiful and uniquely possible about a cinematic expression fused together. If you think you never saw it, you're okay, because you will get to see it in this movie. If you think you did see it, you haven't seen it yet.
Rated PG-13.